have anyone immediately joining?
Not yet.
Not yet.
It's saying
Okay.
we're telling your followers that you started. Yes.
Well then, we'll just get started anyway. So then it's recording for the YouTube feed. So welcome again back to Bodyworks Holland. We've had a little bit of a breakaway for a couple of days whilst we readjusted our scheduling. Needn't go into too much detail about that, but in a way it's good news. It's that lots of the businesses have started to kind of create new online platforms and things. So we're now doing a lot more recording for those, which is great, but it did put a bit of pressure on us for other timings. But now we have a new schedule out there, which is much more manageable. So we will be online for all of those classes for the coming weeks until, of course, we maybe change it again. But welcome this morning. I did put a post out earlier. This was a Hatha Yoga session. It essentially is a Hatha Yoga session, but we're calling it morning yoga. It gives us the freedom to, if ever we need to respond to maybe how our bodies are doing, or if there is any requests out there for specific kinds of practices, that we can just adjust it slightly. But anyway, so we're going to get started. So we're going to come to a standing position, our energetic standing. So if anyone's been following any of my practices over this period, I'm calling this energetic standing. So just letting your feet be perhaps a little bit wider than your pelvis. Toes might naturally want to go a little bit out, but just give that a test. If you want to bend your knees, it might help you just dictate here whether your knees should go, your toes should go a little further out, so that your knees comfortably move out from the hips. I'm just going to let myself settle there into the joints, soften into the pelvis and around the hip sockets, soften into the knees enough that you feel the quads and the hamstrings get a bit involved. So you're giving yourself that support in the structure of your legs. The calves are also working a little here, and the shins in this slight demi plie with the legs. And I'm spreading the bases of the feet into the floor, the bones nice and wide. And I'm feeling almost that I'm giving, beeping of horns outside. And I'm just really distributing the weight into the pads of the toes as well. I'm going to give a little bit of shoulder movement first of all, just to mobilize into that area and feel for perhaps a positioning of those shoulders that feels quite comfortable, with the blades drawn down the back, enough to help free the neck, but being careful here that they don't tighten across the chest and come forwards too much. So I've got them nicely positioned on the back of the rib cage there, and the arms may just lightly swing forwards. So you get the feeling that there's lightness or helium-filled balloons just underneath the paddy surface of your forearms. And again, like in the feet here with your hands, we're going to distribute the bones of the hands, spread the bones out, but not feeling that we're having to push out, that we're just giving a breath into the spaces of all of the joints of your hands. The finger pads as well, alive and sensitive, so I can feel for the temperature of the air on my fingertips. And I'm going to close the eyes, sink into my body. So using this as our morning practice, so if ever you want to repeat this session, you can go to our YouTube channel and use this at any point in your morning. It's a great way to energize your body. This position that we're in, you might know this if you practice Qigong or know of Qigong, that this would be called Wu Qi position. It's an energetic position. It's a position where the body is relatively soft but ready to absorb energy, and that you're ready at any point, if you wanted to move off. So it's a posture of potential. I have lightness into the back of the neck, softness into the front of the throat, and I'm starting to slow and elongate that breathing. So I'm perhaps moving to what we might describe as Ujjayi Pranayama in yoga. Now that Ujjayi Pranayama is my own Ujjayi Pranayama. So I don't need to necessarily distribute that breath around the room to any neighbours if you're practicing in a household with a couple of people. Just keep your breath to yourself, but listen into that breathing. How does it feel here as you slow that breath through the nose, in through nose and out through nose? How does it feel into the rest of the body? Can we perhaps feel lightness into the joints? Perhaps with your inhale, there is a slight lengthening of all the joints, and with your exhale, there is a little bit of softening to all of the joints. Now, where are we going to go from here? We're going to start bringing our attention into the core of the body, those abdominals. So now we've loosened up the body, we want that stability in the core. So see if you can bring your attention to your belly button and that space and area just behind your belly button. How can we firm into that area? So I'm thinking about almost tightening or squeezing a little bit, but not sucking in and certainly not pushing out either. It's somewhere in the middle. I'm firming that abdominal area to support the spine. Now from here, as we firm and elevate that rigidity into the center of your body, just let the arms come down by the sides of the pelvis. Your next breath in, we're going to sweep the arms up, rolling palms slightly upwards, and feeling that we can move the shoulder blades so they can slide out to the sides here and up to the sky. With my exhale, those hands are going to come down in front of the body, feeling that those hands are pressing through thickened air. Take your breath in, rotate palms and the arms come back up overhead. So I'm going up, those shoulder blades may move up and out to the sides a little. With my exhale, I keep the elbows slightly elevated and I'm pressing down. I'm also softening further into the knees. I take my breath in, I roll thumbs out. I lift, I slightly lengthen into the legs to feel a livening in the legs. And my exhale just brings those hands down in front of the body. Let's take this one more time. Rotate palms, arms come up overhead, feel a lightness, still staying firm in the abdominals. With your exhale, drawing those hands down in front of you. Let's bring the hands to the thighs. Now I'm going to start to hinge at the waist, but keep those hands sliding down the legs. That's going to prevent you here from over-tucking the bum underneath or over-sticking it back, and it brings the chest forward. So it's what we do maybe in a skiing lesson. Learned some of those things earlier this year. But we're going to let ourselves hinge in the waist and gently going to push into the heels of the hands to keep the chest lifted. And you'll maybe even feel that triggers your pectoral muscles. Just a gentle push down to elongate your arms. And as I firm into the abdominals here in my Utkatasana, or version of Utkatasana, I'm feeling a lengthening of spine. Those ribs naturally will hug in as I lift the abdominals. And then maybe here I'm going to start now floating the arms. So those abdominals, nice and firm here, are supporting the spine as they take the extra workload that comes from sending the arms out. Check in on your breath here. So legs here again are relatively wide here. They may be even slightly turning outwards. So we're not being too fixated on a position of the legs, more the function. So the function of these legs here, hinging in the hips, softening in the knees, but I'm feeling the stability. Feel free to take a few bounces, gentle movements through the knees to charge the legs. Next, steady breath in, widen the back of the heart. Let's let those hands come down as if we were doing that same drop down from before. And then we're going to continue to hinge in the waist. Bring the hands down onto the floor. Relax the neck. Now feel free here to take a bit of movement, a bit of salsa dancing into spine, but firm into the abdominal area. So we're easing into our hips a little bit here. I'm going to move my hands further forward. Take a breath in, just move the weight forwards. Now soften the left knee so your right foot can now step back. Follow it with your left. And we're moving into down dog. So I'm going to send the pelvis up. Move the pubic bone through the thighs. Again, firming into that abdominal region. And maybe I'm treading through the ankles, through the feet. I'm keeping the chest quite drawn in here, so I'm not overstretching those armpits. So I'm keeping a bit more stability into the shoulders. Position your neck also accordingly so that you're not holding tightness in the neck here, nor are we over-tucking chin in. Just have a nice, comfortable, healthy position here with the neck. Now from here I'm going to take my next steady breath in. I'm going to lift the elbows. I'm going to curve the spine, come forwards,
We're going to find our knees down onto the floor, slowly lowering, and then let your pubic bone here move back. So from that rounding of the spine, pubic bone moves back. I'm going to firm into the abdominals. Bird dog position. So from here, left leg is going to send backwards, right arm comes out. And we're just hovering. Now I'm pushing through this left arm. I'm pushing through the right shin and knee into the floor. So your toes may be touched, they may be untucked on that right leg here. I'm going to kick the left heel far away. Maybe even making a fist with the right hand, and think of sending your fist further away with that right arm. Now your next exhalation, we're going to just lift the knee and the hand towards each other. It may curve the spine slightly to give some space. Hold that there. Feel the abdominals firming. Then I'm going to send the arm and leg in opposition again. Come back out, reaching and holding that there. So we're training the endurance muscles here in this position of opening out. Great for stabilizing lower spines that have issues. I'm going to now curve the spine again a little bit to help draw that knee and the hand through. And one more time here, repeating. Arm comes out, I'm pushing through left hand, so I'm trying to protract this left shoulder forward and down towards the floor. So that's giving me space around that left shoulder. Now from here I'm going to bring the right hand down into the floor. That left foot is now going to step forward into a lunge position. Now it may be quite wide, that's perfectly fine here. So I'm just going to sink into that anginaire. Now you may want to untuck your back toe, maybe even hurdle the hands over. But just sink into that position, spread the bones of the foot and give a gentle push down into the floor. That's going to help lift me up. Arms stay backwards here so we don't overload the spine. I'm firming into the abdominals. Now if you'd like a challenge into your legs, try tucking the toe and drawing the thighs into the hips. And that can lift me up here into this position. And you can hover here. So feel free, if you want to elevate that lunge and challenge your thighs, then feel free to do that. Stay nice and soft with your breath. So we're trying to establish that we can do more physically into the body, challenge the body more, but keep the breath soft and steady at the centre of your practice. And that's how we'd even define fitness into the body. So I'm going to slowly lower that right knee back down into the floor. I'm going to let the hands come down to the floor, or my right hand in particular down to the floor here. I'm going to take tight the spinal twist. So I'm going to firm into the abdominal area again, and slowly send the left arm out into space, rotating the whole torso. So whilst we say this is a twisting position, the twist comes naturally from the gradual restriction of the spinal joints here. So I'm going to take the twist, and that's going to continue twisting into spine. But I'm really trying to bring the whole body into that twist. Now if you'd like, you can always push through the back foot, draw the thighs into the hips, and that can elevate your spinal twisting lunge. Check in with your neck here as well. You may want to look up. You may prefer to release the neck. You may prefer to look directly out towards the front of the room or down at the floor. What feels best for your neck and your spine? So here in this position, as I'm firming abdominals, I feel perhaps the right side of the abdominals working a little bit stronger. So it's almost, in a way, our side plank position, which is where we're going to start moving. So I'm going to soften that right knee down. I'm going to move the weight back. Move the right foot a little to clear the way, and we're stepping out. Now, I myself am going to come down onto a forearm variant of this position. You may prefer to be up here, though it can be a bit strong on wrists. So I'm going to lower down, push through that elbow, lift the knee, and maybe stay here. Maybe I'm comfortable enough to step back and remain there in side plank. And as I'm in side plank, I'm firming abdominals. I feel the side body working strong. If I can adjust my t-shirt a bit here, so you can see I'm trying not to hang down to the floor. I've got that push through the arm, spacious right shoulder. Neck is relatively balanced. Now I'm going to bring the left hand to the floor. I'm maybe going to soften that right knee back down and just crawl your way back. Find your way into a all-fours position. Now working into a few chaturanga, up dog, down dogs, or coming back to an all fours position, but we're going to take this from an engagement of the core. So I'm first going to just adjust my top, so you can hopefully see a little more activation in the centre. So the movements that I'm thinking of is an arch and a curve of the spine. So let's just work together with the same definition of those two words. So when I open up the ribs in this position, this is what we'd call an arch. So I'm calling an arch. And here I have a curve. Technically both are arches and curves. So it's going to share a language together here, that we're arching when we open the front of the ribs, and we're curving when we open the back of the ribs. Now we're going to use this to help us move through a chaturanga. Now you may prefer to just move your knees back a little bit, and we have our arch to open here. The exhale as I curve and I lower. The inhale as I arch the spine. Notice my pelvis is actually hovering, so I'm working into the core, like in a plank position. And my exhale, I firm the abdominals and I come back to where I started. If you prefer to do full chaturanga, here we have open, so arch, inhale, exhale, curve, lower, inhale, arch, up dog, exhale, curve, down dog, or back to plank. And then we can take those in a few rounds, okay? I'm going to take the slightly less strong version so I'm able to still breathe and talk. So I'm moving out over my hands, I'm taking a breath in and arching, I'm exhaling, I'm curving, I'm lowering chaturanga. Inhale, arching, up dog. Exhale, curving, all fours, down dog or plank. Inhale, arching, coming forward. Exhale, curving, lower chaturanga. Inhale, arching, up dog. Exhale, curving, all fours, down dog, plank. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curve. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curve. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curve. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curve. One more time. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curve, chaturanga. Inhale, arch. Exhale, curve. All fours, down dog. From here, let's press back to our downward facing dog, and we'll meet there. Check in on the breath. Check in on how your body feels. Is there a change in temperature, in heat? Is there a change in the tensions of your body? Is there a greater sense of awareness of your body or of your breath? Is there a struggle with your breath? Now with your next steady inhalation, I'm going to lift both heels. Start to open your chest and look slightly forward. Exhale to bend to your knees. Now we have options here to walk, step, or a lovely jump, float the pelvis, and float the feet down into the floor. Take a breath in, push the feet down, go up to that Utkatasana. Press into your hands and open up the chest. So I'm finding good stable position here. The shoulder blades are down the back. I'm now going to push into the feet, come up to stand, Tadasana. Take your breath in, arms come up overhead. Exhale, soften the hands down in front of the body, soften the knees, close your eyes. Feel your Tadasana. Standing tall with broad back, long tall neck. Just staying here, not worrying about needing to move to the other side just yet. Just check in with your body, check in with your breath. Let's move into the other side here. So take a breath in, arms come up overhead, slight lengthening of the legs. Exhale, hands come down, soften your knees, Utkatasana. Press into your hands, into your legs, open up your chest. Exhalation, take forward bend. Move the weight forward into the hands. Soften the right knee. Step your left foot back. Follow it with right. Downward facing dog. Take a breath in here. Draw the ribs in. Firm into the abdominals. Get that sensation of reaching your sitting bones far away from your wrists. Now take your next breath in. We're going to lift the heels. Curve the spine. Lower the knees down. So we take that bird dog onto the other side. So I'm going to move my right leg back, my left hand forward, and I'm hovering in space. Now careful here, a temptation is, or a habit, is to drop the ribs down. So if you can, firm into the abdominals, keep the ribs drawn in, press through that right arm. So again, it's not the best t-shirt for this session. Won't be wearing this one again. But you can see here I'm trying to lift up that abdominal area and firm into that area. With your next exhalation, let's draw the right knee and left hand together. Mild curve of the spine, again keeping the abdominals firm. Your next breath in, press through that right arm, and then the hand and the leg come out into space. Flex the foot, maybe make a fist and reach. Holding that position, finding stability in the center of the body. With your next exhalation, let's curl inwards. Draw the knee and the hand together, firm into abdominals. Breath in, send the leg back out into space, holding there. Long back of neck, not over shortening or looking forward here. Just feel length to your neck. Let's lower the left hand down, bring the right knee forward, stepping into your lunging position. Anjaneyya. Now making sure this right foot is far enough forward, so that we don't have it too far back here and overstretching the Achilles. And putting it into a nice comfortable position and pushing through right foot, hands swing backwards and firm abdominals. Come up to that Anjaneyya, sink into your lunge. Maybe the arms now are going to come up to the sky, and I'm creating space into the side body. I'm still firming the abdominals in case there is space for a mild back bend. I'm maybe going to tuck the back toe and firm into the thighs, drawing them into the hips, and maybe I can push up. The firming of the thighs and the pulling in here, particularly that left hip coming in, helps me to maintain square hips. So I'm finding a good solid position with my legs here. I'm checking in with my breath. I'm checking in with how gravity is falling through the body. It should feel nice and crisp and clean in how you're positioning your body. If something feels a bit tight or twisted or contorted, then we're probably not listening to our body in the right way. So adjust yourself so you don't feel those nasty sensations. Use your next exhalation. Let's float down if the knee is lifted. Graceful descent into the floor. Bring left hand down for spinal twist. I'm going to firm again into the abdominal area. I'm going to start rotating the torso. Now you may want to have your left hand a little further out to the left side. That often gives us more space for spinal twisting, particularly if we are quite tight around the hips and the lower spine. And keeping perhaps this right hand more in line with the shoulder, so I'm not over twisting just from the shoulder, and certainly not putting stress onto that anterior side of your right shoulder, on the front side there. So we're keeping now a bit more in front of us. And checking in with the neck as to what feels best there. What feels good to help your neck balance, so we don't feel that we have this tension coming up the back of the head and over. I'm going to take my next breath in, firming into the abdominals. I'm going to now move into my side plank position. So for that, I'm going to move my left foot out, step my right foot back. Now I'm going to again come down onto forearms. So position the forearm where it's most comfortable, and then we can start to climb our way into our side plank. It may be that you want to go onto the hand, and then you can have yourself in a much stronger position. So again, just adjusting my clothing there, so you can see I'm not dipping down in that left side. I'm flexing the feet and spreading the bones. I'm trying to breathe as steady as I possibly can. Pressing through that left arm, trying to move the shoulder blade around the side of the ribs. Create as much space into the shoulders as possible. And let's find our way out. So your right hand finding its way down, and climb your way back into down dog. So again, setting myself into a comfortable down dog. In down dogs, there is no need to lengthen these legs if that comes at the price of having it curved back. So let the knees be soft, move the pubic bone back, draw in the ribs, and then we can start to search for space into the back of the legs. But notice that moment where it pulls the spine. So from here, we're going to move into our standing postures. So I'm going to reach my right leg back, feel a good elongation into the body. Exhalation, let's draw the right knee forward. Now we're going to curve into the body, into the spine there, to help step me forwards. So feel free, if you don't quite manage that, if it has to be a couple of steps, that's also perfectly fine. I'm going to adjust the back foot for warrior 2 position. So warrior 2 position here, those back toes turning out, don't worry if it's not completely flat, just make sure that the feet are on the floor and nice and comfortable. I'm softening the right knee, come on up. Now my body's maybe on an angle, it's maybe flat. Just choose where to place yourself so that you don't feel that you're having to contort your spine. Perfectly fine to focus in on this tension between your left wrist and the right knee for an opening of that diagonal stretch line coming across the body, but you may prefer to keep it a little closed so then you don't overstretch the inner thigh and certainly don't pull the knee in. So I'm opening up that space into my warrior 2. Now some people prefer to look over that right arm, put the little twist into the neck. Fine if you want to go for that, but how does it also feel to have more of a balanced neck? Now I'm going to create more space into the right side of the hip here. I'm going to lift the right arm a little. Think of lifting the abdominals whilst I'm firming, and then I'm coming into that Parasvakonasana. Forearm onto the thigh, left hand up to the ceiling, perhaps slightly in front. Now if you would prefer, you can work into those legs, into the core, and float the arm. That's also perfectly fine. If you prefer to do that, and work a bit stronger into stabilization. But breathe steady, length into the back of the neck, firmness still in that core area, pressing through strong and stable legs with wide feet. Now from this position, we're simply going to graduate this into Trikonasana. So I'm going to start first of all by sinking further into right foot, pushing out from your sideways lean, and I'm going to lengthen into 2 legs. And now I'm thinking here of firming thighs. To firm them, I'm going to lift them into the hip sockets. And you'll feel that's like putting on your yoga tights, and as you pull them up here, it drags everything up and makes your legs feel much longer. So I'm drawing them up into the hips, and I'm going to swing the pelvis to the left. So I'm dropping in a little bit onto that inner left thigh, but I'm opening the inner right thigh. My body may be on a mild tilt, so a slight twist towards the floor. That again depends on the mobility of that right hip. So I'm going to move out into space. I'm firming the abdominals to stop the lower spine going into spasm or cramp. Now maybe keeping left hand onto the pelvis here, and I'm breathing. I'm searching with the back of the head to create space into my Trikonasana. Option again here is to look down towards the floor or up towards the sky. Whatever feels most appropriate for you. So I have my good strong Trikonasana, pushing into 2 feet. Now let's start to elevate the firmness of the core. I'm going to start to press through those 2 legs, soften the right knee slightly, and come back up towards warrior 2. Now from here, I'm going to twist the body to face forward and just move the back foot so the heel's lifted, firm into the abdominals. We're going to now come forward into our warrior 3 and drifting up, flexing left foot. So this is like our dog bird position on all fours, but we're now doing this as a standing balance. Now you may prefer to stay here. We have another option here of moving on with our balancing. So from here I'm going to lift the abdominals, draw the left knee forward and up. So I have my standing position. So this is option number 1. Option number 2, I'm going to reach the foot out into space and start to bend the right knee. I'm going to see if I can come all the way forwards and down for that pistol squat to come all the way down to standing. I'm still hovering the foot. Then how can we push back up, draw the knee in, reach it back and step back into your lunge. Arms come up to the sky. Exhale, forward bend. Step your way back, downward facing dog. So on that pistol squat or those balances, it doesn't matter what options you take there. So even if you're just standing on one leg, with the toe even maybe resting on the floor, that's also perfectly fine. Your practice is exactly that. It's your practice. So it's what you choose to take at that point in time. So from here, I'm going to send the left leg back, reaching back and taking a big breath in And with my exhale, I'm going to firm the abdominals, curve spine. Can I float that left foot forward between my hands? Virabhadrasana 2. Pressing the foot down, and again, firm abdominals, press through the legs. Come up to your warrior 2, arms reaching out. Now again, adjust your position accordingly. So where in this spiral, on top of your good, strong warrior 2 legs, does it feel most interesting for your body? Perhaps we are focusing on that reach of the right hand away from the left knee. Perhaps we're thinking more about the firmness of the core and the lift out from the hips. Perhaps the firming of the buttocks and the drawing in of the hips. So feel free to set yourself your own personal intentions within your practice. Parasvakonasana. Lift out of the left hip. With your exhale, let's come into that Parasvakonasana. Forearm just resting down onto the thigh. Or if we feel we want more of a challenge, you can hover. And the arm can just go where it's most comfortably placed. And just breathe. Check in here that you can still breathe. Notice the sensations in your hips, your changing tension in the body. Often these more strenuous positions will feel a tightness. Now assess that tightness. Is it a tightness that feels you restrict yourself from breathing, or is it a tightness where you feel you're engaging? That's a great one, is engaging, but when we feel we can't breathe, adjust to your position. Now take your next breath in. Let's press through the feet, lift out from that Parasvakonasana, lengthen left leg. Again, body might be on a diagonal here. Try not to focus on twist on this one. Just let your body be where it comfortably needs to be. I'm going to lift into the abdominals, firming buttocks even, but making sure I can articulate that left hip. And I'm going to move into the hip. Body may be slightly twisted to the floor. That's perfectly fine. Arm comes maybe out or onto the hip. Hand onto the hip is a much less strenuous position for your shoulder. And then I'm thinking of pressing through the 2 legs, rolling the chest up as much as I can without losing the integrity of the spine. Pushing through, strong legs, spreading the feet. Choose wisely where you place your head. Are you looking up? Are you looking down? Try not to look forwards towards or beyond your toes, but maybe looking directly out to the side wall is perfectly fine. Now I'm going to exit this position coming towards that warrior 3 balance. So I'm going to soften to the left knee first to help access all of the legs and all of the muscles around that knee area of the leg. I'm going to push through the leg. Come up to standing, adjust the back foot to parallel. Firm into the abdominals, maybe lifting up a bit. And then I'm coming forwards, drifting into warrior 3 balance. Flexing the foot, finding stability. Breathing steady. Notice if the ribs are flaring down. Try and hug those in a little bit so you feel the spine with its natural waviness. Now, options here to change this position. Feel free to stay here and just balance if you prefer. Maybe you're losing your balance and would prefer to just try and master this position. That's also fine. I'm going to draw the right knee through, come to standing. From here, send the right leg out. Can we start that pistol squat? Now I'm weaker on this left side, so I'm going to see how far I can go before I start to shudder, before I feel I'm going to collapse. Now I'm going to hold that there, press back down and come up. So you may find that one side is less strong than the other. That's also fine. Work with your body. Stepping back, open up the chest, firm the abdominals. Exhale, bring the hands down. Step your way back, down dog. Check in with the breath. Check in with that positioning of your feet, that we have a good comfortable space between them, that we can't necessarily see so much of the heel because the heel is moving a little wider than your big toe. Then from here we're going to lift those heels and curve the spine. Come forward towards that planking position, lower your knees down into the floor. Move back, we're going to come to seated position. And we're going to let the legs open for a Paschimottanasana. I'm going to face you for this, but you can stay on your mat, or maybe you want to open sideways if you feel it's better for your heels. But we're going to open up the legs. Don't worry if it's not the widest position you've ever achieved. If this is your morning practice, your hips probably need a good 6 or 7 hours to really open up to their full potential. So I'm going to draw the toes back, reach out into space. I'm just going to press down through my sitting bones and try and find vertical first. If you can't find vertical, if you're still being pulled back, then let that be your focus. So I'm just going to try and find that vertical. If I'm here, I'm just trying to lift up, out to the waist. I'm trying to lift up. And as we get a little looser into the hips, one day we'll feel more comfortable to sit, and then we've got the capacity to come forwards. But if you're already there, let yourself start coming forwards. Draw the toes back and spread the bones of the feet. There are options to use props here in this position if you like. You can always sit on a brick, sit on a rolled up towel or a cushion. So with the yoga ground feet, we've been often making references, and now I think there's even a list being compiled about various household items you can utilise for your props to use in practice. But I think we still stick with Harry Potter books as the main source for support in this position. Miss Rowling wrote a very good amount of words that give us a good amount of proppage here for the sitting bones. But I'm moving out into space. I'm giving myself some structural support here from those arms. So I'm not just holding this and working into the spine. You can work on that in that way, but in the morning time, I think the best thing to do here is just let yourself have some structural support from your arms. Come forwards. Keep breathing. Now, with your next breath in, we're going to press the legs into the floor. You'll see my legs firm up. And I'm drawing those thighs into the hips. I'm going to draw the toes back, and now I'm going to walk the hands back. And as you use those legs, you'll find that it makes it easier to come out from that position because the whole body's working together as a unit. I'm going to lean myself back. Use that lean back to help draw your legs together. Lengthen the legs out. Inverted plank. I'm just going to bring the hands behind me, reach the toes forward, push down and lift up into that position. Now again, as you see here, I'm not just thinking of the bum. Often we talk about just firming the bottom in this position, but let's also think about moving the lower ribs up to the sky. So I'm finding that I'm using spinal muscle, backs of legs. I'm firming the entire back surface of the body. I'm pressing through my arms. There may be a slight bend, that's perfectly fine. And I'm slowly going to lower myself down from here, lean further back, draw the knees back. Coming into a bit of inversion practice. So I'm going to come forward. Now don't worry, if the word inversion just made you feel a little bit sick, don't worry, it's your morning practice. You may only want to just do the introduction to the position and just turn your world upside down for a brief moment, okay? So I'm going to come down to a forearm stand or a dolphin position. I'm going to search for a good positioning here. Maybe holding mid-biceps is a good one for a forearm stand. I wouldn't recommend it for headstand, but for a forearm stand, it's a good one here to get a good measurement. Then open up your hands as much as they can, forearms down, palms down. I'm going to move myself with my weight forwards a little bit, and I'm going to drop the neck. So as much as you can, try and encourage this neck now to remain as soft as possible. Now, if you wish, the full extent of your practice here today may just be this wrap of your shoulders, pressing your elbows into the floor. And don't think too much about lifting the heart up. As long as we think of pushing the elbows down, the heart's going to move in opposition naturally. So just think of pushing the elbows into the floor as much as you can. Now I'm going to relax the neck again, because I noticed that I've firmed my neck there. And I'm going to start to lift the knees. I'm going to walk the feet a bit forward, and again, press down through the arms. Now try firming into the abdominals. Now, rather than worrying about coming up to a forearm stand today, we're going to work with some shoulder strength. So I'm going to keep this position with relaxed neck. I'm going to firm into the abdominals. I take a breath in to prepare, and with your exhale, bring your elbows away from the floor, down dog. Use your exhale, lower the elbows down. Take a breath in, and use your exhale, push down through those arms. Lower back down, take a breath in and prep. Exhale, push from the hands. Coming back through, down into the floor, take a breath in. Exhale, pressing back down. Take a breath in as you lower and prep. Exhale, press hands down, down dog. Exhale, come to dolphin. Take a breath in. Exhale, press back, down dog. lower down. Let's go one more time. Take a breath in, use your exhale, pressing out. And from here, curve spine, come forwards, lower the knees. Swing the legs around, we'll come onto our backs. So I'm going to reach the arms out, firm into the abdominals, and we start trying to almost hinge back. So rather than deep curve and roll down this way, which is maybe how I used to teach this movement actually, but I'm thinking more about opening chest and trying to hinge. That's going to really challenge that core stability and firmness in the abdominals. Your feet may become light, that's perfectly fine. Just keep the knees moving away from your chest. So you may even move towards that dish position. Feel your lower spine begin to find the floor. And then as your middle spine comes down, lessen the pressure of the lower spine. And then let your back come all the way down. Let's just bend the right knee here, the left leg goes nice and long, and place your hands just underneath your lower back. So we're using those hands there to keep the natural lumbar lordosis, the lumbar curve. And from here, I'm simply going to start by taking a slow breath in. And I'm going to lift the elbows and just lift the head and the shoulders away from the floor. And that's enough, just holding that position. Don't worry about rolling all the way up to a sit-up. Just staying here, firming into your abdominals. This is a great exercise for those of us who do experience any issues in the lower back or any kind of spinal difficulties. It's a fantastic one as well for generally improving core stabilization. And I'm going to lower down. Take a breath in. We'll do this two more times. Use your exhale, elbows lift. Lift the head and shoulders just a little bit away from the floor. It doesn't need to be a massive lift up here, just a small amount of lift. We're already triggering that core stability. So I'm holding that position, training the endurance, and lowering down. One more time. Take a steady breath in. And your exhale, lift elbows, head and shoulders. Now this little bit of firming that we're trying to do in the abdominals is the firming that we want to take. If ever we're trying to lift up an object, or even something as simple as bending down to pick up a pencil or something that's dropped onto the floor, firm your abdominals first, and that's a great way to protect the spine. Lower down. Let's change the legs over. Take a breath in. Elbows lift, shoulders and head lifts. Firming the abdominals. Lift the elevation of the work in your abdomen to match the amount of work and load that you're having to put through your back. So at this point it's quite a lot because the weight of the skull is quite heavy here. The shoulder girdle is quite heavy. So I'm working quite strong. Lower down. Take a breath in. Firming the abdominals and lift the head and shoulders and the elbows. Staying here. Take this one just one more time in a few moments. Release yourself back down. Take a breath in. With your exhalation, firming the abdominals, elbows lift, head and shoulders lift. Staying there. Breathe steady. We should still be able to breathe here, even though we're firming into the abdominals. And we're lowering down. Bend both knees. Little push down through the feet to remove the hands, lower the spine. Let your legs now elongate out into space. Flex the feet. Reach the arms out into space and flex the wrists as much as you can. Think of shooting Spider-Man web out through your heels of your wrists, through the heels of your legs. Let's lift the head again for a moment. Let's think of firming the buttocks. Firm the chest by bringing the thumbs towards each other. So we're engaging the whole body and then release. Just let yourself melt into the floor, taking Shavasana. Just feel that there's a gentle sliding of the backs of your arms, backs of your hands, away from the shoulder girdle, just to give a bit of space. Neck perhaps a little bit more lengthening. And then just let yourself surrender. Tune into that sensation of gravity here, drawing you into your mat, into the floor. So in this position of Shavasana, we needn't have focus on the body to maintain the position, to maintain even function in the body.
gravity and the structure of the earth beneath you does that. So instead, I could take my attention here to just follow the smoothness of the breath, that internal, personal Ujjayi Pranayama perhaps gradually fading, so the breath becomes barely even perceptible. So were we to follow that mission here towards fitness and healthiness in the body, what we're ultimately trying to do is to slow down and keep the breath as steady and as calm and efficient as possible whilst doing more with the body. So in this position of Shavasana, we're letting the breath come to an even more efficient state, where we barely even feel the movement of the breath. Like to take an extra elongated Shavasana. Feel free to let the video run to its end if you're watching through our YouTube channel. But if you're joining us on Instagram Live at this point, perhaps you might want to join me in drawing the practice to a slow and steady close. So I'm starting to increase the volume of the breath in terms of size, perhaps also of sound. And let your fingers begin to wiggle, your toes wiggle, your arms perhaps reaching overhead, and perhaps a little no with your head, just to mobilize into the neck. Taking a stretch out, and then rolling onto your left hand side, keeping the body quite relaxed here, but then start to elevate that firmness into the core, to help you as you bring yourself back up to a seated position. Something that feels comfortable for you to maintain. Perhaps sitting on your shins or cross-legged, using perhaps your Harry Potter books, your cushions, a chair perhaps even, if you feel that all these seated positions doesn't quite work well for you. But find that tallness to your spine, weightedness to your legs and your pelvis. Let's bring the hands together in front of the heart. Thanking yourselves for your practice this morning. Namaste, thank you all very, very much. And have a lovely day ahead of you. So thank you all very much, guys, for joining me again this morning. And just another little subtle reminder here. So for those people who aren't aware, these classes that we're putting out there through Instagram and on the YouTube channel, we're doing on a donations basis. So if you've joined me for practice, please do make a donation through the links that are on our websites or on our biographies on our Instagram pages. And any donations that you make, no matter how big or small, they are all really greatly received by us to help us through this very difficult period as self-employed people. But thank you all very much for joining me, and have a very lovely day ahead of you. Thank you all very much. Any questions, feel free to post.